What's up, 49er fans? Welcome into the Long Beach State Men's Basketball Show Summer Update. My name's Chris Sylvester. It's been quite a while here on National Sports for me and just doing Long Beach State Men's Basketball, but it feels good to be back with some substance to talk about in regards to Long Beach State Men's Basketball. Welcome in, Spreaker.com, National Sports, LBSU Men's Basketball Summer Update right here. Chris Sylvester, your host, as always, here on the Long Beach State Men's Basketball Show. You know, it's a struggle being in love with a sport like college basketball, like many of us are. I mean, the season, there isn't any preseason to look forward to. You don't get much coverage, especially if you're Long Beach State, but college basketball in the off-season, other than, you know, picking up some hot recruits here and there, you don't get much coverage, you know, nationally in regards to college basketball. And on top of that, I mean, you start the season in the middle of November, and if you're lucky, you can drag it out to one of the first days of April. If you're lucky. And that means getting to the Final Four national championship. Something obviously Long Beach State has never done, and it's going to take a while for them to get to that level. Because being a mid-major in the Big West, you know, we got the facilities, we got the location, but the thing that's lacking is, you know, just being able to overpower other teams, and that's what you need to do if you ever hope to get to the beginning of April in college basketball. Now, we all know how the season ended brutally for the 49ers. You know, the 46-point loss to Baylor, one of the worst losses in school history. And I think a lot of us knew that changes were coming after that loss. You know, looking back at it, it wasn't a terrible season because once again, Long Beach won the regular season title in the Big West Conference, but other than that, getting you to the NIT, what does that really do? I mean, you can say that you're the head honcho. You're the boss of the Big West. You're the best in the Big West, but you're still not getting to the NCAA tournament consistently. And that's what's really lacking as far as, you know, I think certainly, I mean, there's no secret that I'd say 4 years in a row, I think Long Beach realistically had a shot at going to the NCAA tournament in 4 years in a row. We only went one time out of the 4 years. And am I complaining? Not really, because, you know, those four horsemen worked extremely hard for that senior season trip to the NCAA tournament. Obviously, we all thought they'd make a run, and they didn't, but, I mean, that was just an awesome season, upsetting a couple of ranked teams and getting to the NCAA tournament. The year before, they certainly could have done it as well. Last year, or should I say this year, 2013, they could have done it as well. But it was the thing that bit them in the butt the whole season that held them back from the NCAA tournament. Held them back from beating a disciplined veteran squad like UC Irvine in the Big West Conference semifinals. It's what held them back from not being competitive whatsoever at Baylor in the NIT game. They never meshed together as a group, and they never played team basketball. There were too many egos on the team. There were too many guys that weren't willing to give up the basketball. There were too many guys just trying to do something for themselves and not for the benefit of the team. Am I saying, they'd rather drop 30 points and lose than drop 10 points and win? Not necessarily. But you just saw a lot of self-centered individuals on last year's roster. I don't know if that's just who they are as people, because obviously we had a whole new bunch come in. But, they certainly looked like that on the basketball court a lot. Guys, getting double teamed, not wanting to pass it up, just trying to drive into the lane and try to do something fancy and barely nicks the backboard. Guys trying to do too much for themselves. Guys trying to put on a show, as Coach Munson said a couple of times in his post-game conferences. Now, the talent level for the 49ers was enough, to win them 19 games overall in the season. To get them, like I said, that first place for the third straight year in the Big West Conference regular season. But when it got down to crunch time, when it mattered most against UC Irvine, smart plays were not made. Long Beach had multiple chances in that game to run away with it. I believe they were up by 7. And they went a cool, I'd say about 8 or 9. I'm not looking at stats at all here, but I believe they were up 6 or 7. And for a cool 7 or 8 minutes didn't hit a field goal. Kind of looked back at the scoreboard and saw, we got a little bit of breathing room. Let's take the foot off the gas pedal a little bit. And that was the story with the team all season long. They should have been, thrashing, destroying these lower level Big West opponents, but instead they played down to the level of their competition. They didn't play hard for 40 minutes on a consistent basis. And that's what held them back from being an NCAA tournament caliber team. Yeah, it was great for Pacific to do it with Coach Thomason in his last season, their last season in the Big West. But there's no reason why Long Beach shouldn't have been able to, despite the size advantage that UC Irvine had too. There's no reason why Long Beach shouldn't have been able to coast by Irvine and then beat Pacific in the championship game. I don't think those guys wanted it enough. And it's really sad that you don't want it enough when you're that close to the NCAA tournament. Then you get to the NIT and, sometimes your focus kind of walks out the door once you know you have no shot at the NCAA tournament. We saw that with, Casper, Larry, Eugene, and TJ a couple years before up at Washington State. Really bummed out that they didn't make the NCAA tournament. Didn't make that great of a showing at Washington State, but hey, they still played hard, That was the difference between that group of guys and the group of guys that were on the 2012-2013 team. On one hand, you had a group of guys, like I said, Casper, Larry, Eugene, and TJ, that were able to mesh together, something that the other group didn't have and weren't going to have the chance to mesh together for 4 years. But, the Four Horsemen always played extremely hard. They were always there for each other. They had some disagreements their first couple of years. That's going to happen. But we saw them mature oh so quickly to the point where they were a couple shots away, their sophomore season, on getting to the NCAA tournament. Let's face it. The starting lineup of Keala King, Tony Freeland, James Ennis, Dan Jennings, and Mike Caffey are more talented and more athletic than the starting lineup of Casper Ware, T.J. Robinson, Eugene Phelps, Larry Anderson, and James Ennis. Some people may disagree with that, and I understand. I barely feel comfortable with saying that statement myself. Obviously, those guys on the right hand, if you get where I'm going here, I'm starting at the left. Left is, the team that made the NCAA tournament for Long Beach State. Right hand, the guys that lost to Baylor by 46 points. So on the left hand, Casper, I'm not saying that the guys on the right hand are better than the guys on the left hand, because Larry's overseas making money. Last I checked, TJ was overseas making money. Eugene's overseas making money. Casper Ware's trying to make a spot on the Houston Rockets squad, and James Ennis was drafted. Obviously, James Ennis is on both hands. And there's no guarantee for anybody on the right hand that they're even going to make it anywhere. But Larry Anderson said it himself. When he came back to the mid for the first time since graduating and watching a basketball game, he said during practice, there's no reason why there's no reason why this group of 49ers, this group of Keala King, Tony Freeland, James Ennis, Mike Caffey, Dan Jennings, there's no reason that 5 should be anything less of what Larry's squad was the last 3 years. The athletic ability of those 5 guys, off the charts. Off the charts. All the 5 that Casper had to work with, TJ, Eugene, Larry, James, they're all 2-star prospects. You have Keala King, 4.5-star prospect, Tony Freeland, 3.5, Dan Jennings, 3.5, Mike Caffey, 3. I mean, yeah, those are just ratings, but I think a lot of us realize that if these guys weren't so selfish, they would be pummeling Big West opponents by 20 points a game, at least. Even the best of them, even on the road. But no. They always got off to that lackluster start, played down to the level of their competition, then turned it on like when they felt like it, and barely squeaked out a W. And you could see the tension of all that wearing on the coaching staff as the season went on. They weren't going to stand for that for a whole nother season. Obviously, these guys could mesh over the summer together, could mesh during that 30-day training camp before the opener, and have a full season with each other under their belt. Obviously, Keala, Edgar Garibay, and Tony Freeland missed the first semester of ball, most of the non-conference slate. But Dan Munson, he did not hesitate one bit to pull the trigger on these guys. Keala King, dismissed. Tony Freeland, dismissed. Deng Deng, I think one of the most surprising out of the 3, dismissed. And the sad thing is that I think Coach Munson was going to stick with this group of guys and try to make it work, especially with Tyler Lamb coming in as well, and having the likes of Branford Jones and Javion Watson eligible to play. I think Munson wanted to take a chance, see if playing against these big schools in the non-conference would motivate these guys to play together as a team and go out there and grab a couple victories and be the team we all thought they could be. But Keala King, who was already dismissed from Arizona State for off-the-court conduct, comes here and gets kicked off for the same thing. And let me tell you something. I was recently talking with somebody very familiar, very, very familiar with the Long Beach State men's basketball team. And he told me that, as talented as King was going to be our guy. That's what he told me. King was going to be our guy this upcoming season. He was going to be the leader here. He was going to be running the show at Long Beach State. But they gave him chance after chance after chance. And he just kept, and this is a quote, screwing up. He kept screwing up. He screwed up badly, actually. That's what he told me. Multiple times. Long Beach, the coaching staff gave him multiple opportunities to try to correct his off-the-court hardships, his off-the-court drama, his off-the-court mishaps. I honestly didn't get to know what exactly that was. I never asked because I don't feel it's my business to know why exactly he was into detail. And trust me, I would tell you guys. But King had multiple chances and he blew it. And the sad thing is that he's probably not going to get another shot at a Division I school. He's going to have to either go try to play overseas and make it, or join a Division II or NAIA school. And it's a shame with the kid with that much talent is going to blow it all by mistakes off the court. And obviously that was the risk you took with bringing him on. But I mean, the reward could have been very high, and it's unfortunate that we never really got to see what he could really do outside of a couple of games. With Tony Freeland and Dang Dang, I'm just not sure at all what happened with them. But same thing for Freeland. Freeland transferred here on his own from DePaul, but he must have messed up off the court too. And that's really a shame because he was extremely talented as well. He's a great, great player. He's a great person. Talked to him multiple times. One of the most friendly basketball players you'll ever meet. So that was a little bit heartbreaking to hear about that. And then of course all of us had sky-high expectations for Dang Dang after seeing flashes of his abilities his freshman season. Lucky for him, this is his first screw-up, and he's up at Cal State Bakersfield now. He's going to sit out this upcoming season and be eligible come 2014. So Munson didn't hesitate. He kicked off 3 key guys. I think that sent a little bit of a message, at least I hope it did, to the remaining players on the roster. Obviously, it was difficult to hear this news, and it took a while to try to find a bright side to it. But I, along with some other fans, are starting to find that bright spot. I was honestly devastated when I first heard that, these 3 key pieces of trying to make an NCAA tournament run, or at least get to the NCAA tournament, are gone. So that's difficult. But the more you look at it, it's kind of like a fresh start. And I think that's what Long Beach State needed. I think after, you saw, back in 2007, when Long Beach State last made the NCAA tournament before 2012, when Larry Reynolds was the coach. You saw a group of upperclassmen take them there, and then the next year they rebuilt. Or should I say 2 years after that, because of the mess that Larry Reynolds left the program and Coach Munson had to come in and clean it up. So it basically took months and 2 years to rebuild. Found an amazing recruiting class of the Four Horsemen, and we saw what they did. We saw that they changed the face of the program. In this case, after the Four Horsemen departed, and this is what a lot of mid-major schools do that had the success that Long Beach State did with the Four Horsemen, they didn't go out and rebuild, they went out and they reloaded. But they reloaded with some high-risk guys. And it didn't pan out. I think we can say the transfer route, at least for this past season, just didn't pan out. You know, Tyler Lamb's holding out hope as far as transfers from BCS schools go, but it didn't pan out. And I think, honestly, instead of getting into this complete mess, I really think Long Beach State should have just rebuilt, maybe with some junior college guys, maybe with some true freshmen. But hey, you know, rather not go through this for 2 years. You know, we saw the mess that was this past season, and now we're trying to get over it, and it looks like Long Beach State is rebuilding and kind of somewhat back on the right track. When we get back, we will talk about the multiple new signees, new 49ers on the men's basketball squad, and we'll talk about, you know, what the starting lineup might look like as well with all these new guys together, and what kind of season we should expect. I know a lot of people are anxious to get it underway, obviously, just because, you know, college basketball is a extremely long off season. It's extremely long. It's almost been 5 months since the season's been over. Can you believe that? And we still gotta wait all the way till November, the middle of November, to get this thing back up and running. Pretty disappointing, but we'll discuss what the starting lineup might look like, what's going to change when Tyler Lamb becomes eligible in December, and we'll discuss that murderous schedule that Dan Munson once again gave us to look forward to. You're listening to the Long Beach State Men's Basketball Summer Update here on Spreaker.com, an affiliate of National Sports. Stay with us.